Hey guys, could we have a heart-to-heart? Good. I'm here to talk to you about the last 24 hours. Last 24 hours that we haven't been together. I know, right? It's been so sad, and a lot has changed over those 24 hours. Things have gotten worse. Some things have gotten better. Slow down there. We're getting to that. And I just want to come and say thank you for over these last 24 hours still supporting me and everything I do. Oh, stop it. You don't have to be so kind. I'm excited for the next time, and I want you to know that I love you. Forever. Always. I'm happy you think of me in the same way. Thanks, guys. See you later.
I am crying right now. That was so touching. It was like the version of me yesterday has just been brought right back to today.
Eroded away and washed into something new. That's what you are. A little rock.
No, that just sounds kind of weird. But
if you guys don't understand why I did that, this is from Blue's Clues. It's been going mad viral of this.
I think
dude.
we should just show it.
You just show it?
Yeah,
all right, we're just going to show it.
it.
All right, hold on. Give me a sec. Yeah, now I was like, we're not going to show this first, but now we're like, okay, we're going to show it. So this the Blue's Clues guy, what's his name?
Steve.
Steve. All right, Steve. He did a video that just came out either yesterday or today, and he was basically talking about why he left the show 25 years ago. And now this is something that many of you watching are like, why do I care about this? What is important about this? Well, there was a lot of theories floating around about this guy, whether he was on drugs or in jail or whatever. Apparently, none of that's true.
And no one ever knew why.
No one ever knew why he left the show.
So,
and people are freaking out online. This has gone like mad viral of Blue's Clues guy talking. So here we go.
Hi. You got a second? Okay. You remember how when we were younger, we used to run around and hang out with Blue and find clues and talk to Mr. Salt and freak out about the mail and do all the fun stuff. And then one day I was like, oh, hey, guess what? Big news. I'm leaving. This is my brother Joe. He's your new best friend. And then I got on a bus and I left. And we didn't see each other for like a really long time. Can we just talk about that? Great. Because I realized that was kind of abrupt. I just kind of got up and went to college. And that was really challenging, by the way, but great because I got to use my mind and take a step at a time. And now I literally am doing many of the things that I wanted to do. And then look at you. And
me? Look at me.
at all you have done and all you have accomplished in all that time. And it's just so amazing, right? I mean, we started out with clues, and now it's what? Student loans and jobs and families, and some of it has been kind of hard, you know?
Yeah,
I know you know.
I do.
And I wanted to tell you that I really couldn't have done all of that without your help.
No problem.
And in fact, all the help that you helped me with when we were younger is still helping me today, right now. And that's super cool. I guess I just wanted to say that after all these years, I never forgot you. Ever.
Me?
And I'm super glad we're still friends. Thanks for listening. You look great, by the way. Whatever it is you're doing, it's working.
Don't have to tell me twice about the mustache Blue's Clues, Steve. Thank you. Appreciate it. So that's the video that's going like mad viral right now of people of Steve from Blue's Clues talking about. How did it make you feel, Taylor?
don't ask me that. I feel bad. I feel like jaded and cynical because I watched that and was kind of like, that was kind of weird. But if you look at people's comments on social media, they're like, oh my God, that gave me all the feels, and Steve knew exactly what we needed, and this is the deepest thing that's touched my heart in 100 years. And it's like, I don't know. I felt like the reaction was a little bit overblown, but I don't want to sound like a butthole. So
no, you do kind of sound like a butthole. That is beautiful and glorious, and you are ruining it for everyone else. Why can't we just have fun without Taylor ruining it?
Well, I'm sorry. You asked me. I had to give my honest answer.
No, I think I actually agree with you. if this is like, I don't know. If
Almost not here to be like, oh, that was so sweet.
I know. We need Amala for
Scott, did you think it was precious?
No, I might have a hardened heart, but I was in your camp right there.
Yeah, I think most men with jobs will look at this and say, that's nice, but it's not anything that I'm going to go crazy over,
Yeah.
Then you have people who like get all of their emotional stability.
I did see an interesting tweet about this on social media. Someone was like, people have heard nothing. It's been so long since people heard a message that wasn't trying to manipulate them in some way, but was just sort of like this authentic, non-threatening type of feeling that this broke through. It was like, oh, there's no agenda here, which I'm like, I don't even know. I'm Steve. Like, this guy looks like he's up to something. Like, I don't trust this yet. So maybe
25 years of drugs in jail will do that to you. It'll harden your soul. No, I have to reiterate. He didn't go to jail or do drugs. Okay.
Yeah.
Apparently, he went bald. I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's people are saying it in the comments. He
went bald.
He didn't want to go bald while being the star of a children's show, and so he just left.
No, if I went bald, I'd probably leave too.
No.
It makes sense. So I totally get it. I get it. But
it's like, get a wig, man. You've got a great job. Like, you can figure it out.
I know.
The guy from 2.5 Men did it apparently. So
yeah, he did. Well, yeah, I just learned that too. I had no idea.
Anyway,
we did actually bring Amala on though to talk about some things that are more important than Blue's Clues, which is hard to believe. I know there are more important things, but we're talking about Google's CRT training. It got exposed by Chris Rufo, and so Amala, Taylor, and I had a discussion about this, and we're gonna show you guys that now. Amala, why don't you start us off?
What do you mean? Why don't I start off? What am I supposed to do?
Say hello to the audience.
Hi, everybody. It's Amala coming at you from Nashville, Tennessee.
What have you been doing this whole time in Nashville, Amala?
Literally sitting in my hotel room. I was just telling Will and Taylor this. I went out one time when I first got here to go to dinner, and I was so annoyed by a drunk man who would not leave me alone that I never went out again.
That patriarchy, it's all over the place.
It's real, man. It's real. I keep saying it's not real, but...
Will hates it when drunk men won't leave him alone at bars either.
I know. I'm trying to go home, and Taylor just won't leave me alone. It's horrible. You should have seen our bachelor party.
We've all been there.
Anyway, speaking of men, we are looking at Chris Rufo, a thread from him. You guys know Chris Rufo. He did a PragerU 5-minute video, and he's done a lot of great work when it comes to critical race theory. I think Chris Rufo, if you are looking on Twitter and you are like, I need someone who is actually going out there and investigating and figuring out where this critical race theory stuff is being implemented, there's no one better than Chris Rufo. He did it with American Express, among some other companies, and he's just been on fire exposing this stuff. And I think we're actually going to have him on the show, next week? I think next week we're going to actually have him.
Yeah, I think next Tuesday.
Oh, excuse me, on the show next week.
My
the
gosh.
Coffee, man. The coffee every morning. I can't help it. I
really can't help it. It's getting ridiculous.
Coffee does not make anyone else burp besides you.
It makes me burp.
Tyler,
I don't know why it makes me burp. I just does.
Gosh,
and I can't help
you need to seek medical treatment. This is like getting insane.
No, a medical treatment? I'm not going to die. I'm going to be fine.
Well, I'm going to die. I'm going to die.
Well, maybe it shows how weak you are.
I'm like Michael in The Office where he's like, I was the victim of a hate crime. And they're like, Michael, it's not a hate crime. Well, I hated it.
Well, sorry that you have to deal with this, okay? You're going to be fine. All right, Christopher Rufo right here. He has got a scoop from Google. Scoop, Google has launched an anti-racism initiative claiming that America is a, quote, system of white supremacy and that all Americans are, quote, raised to be racist, including Ben Shapiro, who is depicted as a layer of the white supremacy pyramid, culminating in, quote, genocide. That's a thread. First thoughts.
First thoughts, you can notice that Chris Rufo is no longer verified on Twitter. The blue check is gone. That means he's really good at his job at exposing CRT because Twitter does not want other people to know that this man is verifiable.
Yeah, I never had a blue check mark. I still don't have a blue check mark. And I have a lot of followers. I mean, I have a pretty good amount of followers, more than leftist journalists who have blue check marks who are total losers. I take my not having a blue check mark as almost a badge of honor. I'm kind of glad that I don't have it. You know?
Doesn't Dave Portnoy have like 1 million followers and has no blue check mark?
Yeah, Dave
still?
Portnoy
like
has
thing.
one. Yeah, and then James O'Keefe didn't have one when he was on until they kicked him off, but he didn't have one.
What's crazy, like the original purpose, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a verified badge. It's to verify that you are who you say you are, because you're a public figure and people would be, creating fake accounts to impersonate you.
Right.
So did they suddenly have doubts that this is actually Christopher Rufo, or are they just arbitrarily, deciding to punish him by taking away his blue check? It makes no sense.
I don't know. It's like timeout.
It's definitely punishment so that people don't recognize his account, because then they'll be looking for that blue check and now they don't see it anymore.
So it's just so
sense.
obviously petty and unnecessary, but it's also it's kind of okay, who cares? It's a blue icon next to your name.
I know. Some people really care about it.
Some people do.
The blue checkmark leftist journalists care about it so much. They think that because they have a check, that their opinions mean
Your
so
blue check
much.
is not a personality.
Exactly. It's not. You being a vegan in Los Angeles and having a blue check mark and writing for Cosmo is not a personality trait. Okay, here's some of the other ones that he goes into. I have obtained a trove of whistleblower documents from inside Google that reveal the company's extensive racial re-education program based on the core tenets of critical race theory, including intersectionality, white privilege, and systemic racism. Or here's some of these pictures. Racial equity trainings. Search for racial equity. Join the watch party.
That sounds like a party I want to go to.
Yeah, that sounds like
Heck
fun.
yeah.
And then allyship learning sessions. So those are just a couple examples of the different sessions they have. And he goes on to say, in a module called Allyship in Action, Google trained employees to deconstruct their racial and sexual identities and then rank themselves on a hierarchy of power and privilege, then manage their reactions through crying and accessing their happy place.
That's so weird.
They are training the men of Google to be soft.
I just don't. Where do you go from there? So let's presume that we do this at PragerU, right? And we rank each other on this hierarchy of privilege and power. What do you do after that? You're just like, okay, well, this is the reality.
How would you rank us, Amala, on a power scale?
On a scale of Amala to Ben Shapiro, how privileged and white supremacist are you?
Will is definitely going on the genocide tier.
The genocide tier?
Yeah. You're going to see the little pyramid at the end. You're on the genocide tier.
What does that even mean?
I mean, just look at that mustache. That screams genocidal.
Right. No, I destroy the libs. So it makes sense. Okay, did you guys see this little wheel?
No.
Okay, so look at this little wheel. This is their wheel of power and privilege. And so with this wheel, you can understand what your, I guess, power and privilege is. So the closer you are to the center of the wheel, then the more power that you have. So,
Wait, being slim body size is more powerful than average or large? That's interesting.
Yeah. Tell that to Gimli, son of Glowin.
Yeah. Willie, I think you should locate where you land on this wheel.
All right, I'm going to find skin color,
Let's do it.
dark, different. I'm pretty dark. I tan a lot, so I'm going to go dark.
Oh my gosh.
Or maybe different shades. I would say
Okay.
different shades, because underneath my mustache. Formal education,
Nice.
YouTube,
You,
There you go.
elementary.
PragerU, high
Did you
school
graduate high
education.
school? Okay.
Yeah, high school. I graduated high school. Right? I'm not that bad. Able-bodied, some disability, significant disability. I would say I have some disability.
Okay, sure.
I don't know. I have this shoulder pain. I have tendinitis in my shoulder.
I actually do have a birth injury that makes me somewhat disabled.
Right.
So.
As do I. Will does not get to use that excuse, though. Only Taylor and I get to use that.
Oh, yeah. Amla has her thing, too.
What do you mean? I have tendinitis in my shoulder.
That's just an
Oh my
injury.
gosh.
That's not disability.
I'm
No.
kind.
Yeah. Trying to set up sore after I work out. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, heterosexual, gay men, lesbian, bi, pan, asexual.
So you're right there in the gay area.
Right
I was
there in
gonna
the
say
middle,
You
Will.
and I are together, but I guess not. Neurodiversity, neurotypical, neuroatypical, significant neurodivergence. I don't know.
You're neurotypical, Will.
How do you know?
Because I know you.
Amla, what's neurotypical mean? So Will can understand.
What does
Explain it to Will.
Only
like he's
neurotypical girls will understand.
gosh, neurodivergence is like tics, autism, Asperger's, anything like that deviates from normal neurotypical traits.
All right. So I'm fine. Okay. Mental health, vulnerable, mostly stable, robust. I would say it's definitely robust. I have robust.
I would say you're definitely vulnerable. when it comes to mental health.
That's only when you come back next week. But right now, I am robust. Body size, large, average, slim. I'd say I'm pretty large.
Okay.
At
Okay.
5'9", Will Witt. Housing, homeless, sheltered / renting, owns property. Okay, I'm renting, so I'm in the middle. There's some badness. Wealth, poor, middle class, rich. I'm not telling you guys that. Language, non-English, learned English or English. English.
You learned English, technically.
No, well, it is
Where's
it is my
multilingual
second
on here?
language.
After Elvish
No,
and Tish?
after body. Body language was my first language. Gender, I'm a cisgender man. Citizenship, I am a citizen. Okay, I don't know how I come out, but
You're pretty powerful, Will. You're pretty powerful.
I am pretty powerful. I'm happy about it. I'm happy to be so powerful. But I think that any of these different people on the wheel, if given the right circumstances and the right amount of work ethic, could be just as powerful as anyone else on the wheel.
So now that we've
Agreed.
deconstructed your racial and sexual identity, is it time for you to manage your reaction through crying and accessing your happy place?
I don't really have a happy place.
It's time to cope,
At least
Will.
it's
time to
definitely
cope.
not here at work.
I thought you said your happy place was with me on this
I thought
podcast.
it was Chipotle.
Yeah, no, it's in a Chipotle bathroom.
Chipotle killed the happiness with their trans burritos.
Yeah,
so.
seriously, no, it's no longer my happy place. Okay, in a video, guest lecturer Ibram Kendi claimed that all Americans, including children as young as 3 months old, are racist. 3-month-old children are racist, apparently. To be raised in the United States is to be raised to be racist. And to be raised to be racist is to be raised to almost be addicted to racist ideas. Take a shot every time he says the word racist. I mean,
Honestly.
the heartbeat of anti-racism, Ibram X. Kendi. You guys all know this guy. Yeah, there's some pictures right here. Because the youngest of people are not colorblind. I mean, between 3 and 6 months, our toddlers are beginning to understand race and see race by 2 years old. Our little ones are consuming racist ideas and determining who to play with based on skin colors.
Gosh, it's so stupid. Ugh.
This is not true. I mean, all jokes aside, like, this is indoctrinating young people to be racialized from a young age, and you have to teach kids that they're racist. You have to teach them to be racist, and that's exactly what this guy's ideology is doing.
It's like, why are they teaching this to Google employees? I mean,
Yeah, your 3-year-old is racist, Google employee.
Yeah,
I know you're just
exactly.
here to write code for your search algorithm, but
I know.
you need to know about how racist your 3-year-old is.
Yeah, I know
if
you're only
white.
here to silence conservative voices.
What is the end game with all this? I don't get it. It's like, where does it go from here? Other than destabilizing our country and just creating an all-out race war, I don't get what other incentive you would have to do this.
Well,
That's
that is the
exactly
end
what
game.
it is. That's the
Yeah.
end game. That's the end game. Destroying America is the end game. And that sounds like, I don't know.
Yeah, you remember
kind of
the
Armageddon-y, but
the
it's true.
BLM leader last year who said we will burn the system to the ground. I mean, that is the ultimate end game of these ideologues. Is they're not trying to improve society incrementally, as Martin Luther King did and succeeded at. They're trying to dismantle society and usher in a Marxist utopian revolution. And so as much as they can create division and castigate anything that is good about America, they turn it upside down and paint it as fundamentally evil and racist. And that's the whole goal, is to say this is rotten to the core and we need to completely get rid of it and start anew. And a company as big as Google teaching this stuff to their employees, and imagine how that's informing. Google controls what you see, what so many people see on the internet. They control more than we can imagine. And if the ideology that is underneath how they're managing all of that power is based in this anti-American, train everybody that we need to destroy the West, this is where we're headed.
But there are people who are black. Google owns YouTube. And then you have people who are black on YouTube being censored by YouTube or getting their videos demonetized or their ideas aren't allowed to be shared on the platform. So it's like Google wants to come on and teach us diversity training and Ibram X. Kendi and stupid racist stuff. But then when it comes to actual black voices on their platforms, they censor them and they don't let them speak. So what do you really believe?
Yeah.
Do you really believe in these things that you're preaching, or are you doing it so that other people will think that you actually care when you obviously don't?
Right. It's the same thing as we saw yesterday. A certain gubernatorial candidate in California got an egg thrown at him by a person in a gorilla mask. And this is a black man who's a candidate, gets egged by a white person with a gorilla mask on. And the mainstream media completely ignores it. Whereas if it were someone who they agreed with, the outcry would be wall-to-wall coverage, and it would be the worst thing since George Floyd. But, this is how they are, again, managing their power. And it just goes to show you, like you're saying, Will, like they don't actually believe that the country's racist, because if they did, they would call out, they would be equal whenever there are incidences of racism. They would be consistent in calling them out. And like you're saying, they wouldn't be silencing the conservative voices, and they would be consistent in the messages that they put out there. But instead, they're selective, and that just goes to show you that it's not about the principles that they're hiding behind. It's really about the underlying ideology.
Yeah, they're going to create a whole mess of destruction in our country, and then all the corporations, all these virtue signaling corporations are going to be the ones there to clean it up and help you and save you. Yeah, funny enough, the corporations want to help you and save you.
Yeah, and the CEO of Google, Sundar, I think that's how you say his name.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a minority. He's, I think, Indian or maybe Bangladeshi.
Yeah, he is.
Okay, yeah, and he's like the CEO, and he made it to be the CEO of Google, like one of the biggest companies in the world, and he's a minority in America. Mm-hmm. And you're going to tell me that they're putting out all this anti-racist training about all this stuff. Like, I understand that's only one example, but it's like, come on, man. You don't believe any of the things that you're saying. Come on, man. It doesn't make sense.
Chocolate chip ice cream.
Yeah.
Billions of Google searches.
All right, so this is the part that specifically pertains to us from this Google thing. Denial of racism is proof that a person is racist. And so for me, the heartbeat of racism is denial, and the sound of that denial is I'm not racist. That's how they get you. They tell you that if you disagree with it, then you are racist.
We've spoken about this so often. It's just like, now you're not supposed to be racist. And then when you say I'm not a racist, no, you really are racist. That's not enough. You need to be anti-racist. And now you can't be anti-racist. You have to acknowledge that you have subconscious racism. And it's just an effort to get all white people to admit that they're racist. That's it.
I mean, they did another guest lecture with Nicole Hannah-Jones, who created the 1619 Project. And she comes on to say, if you name anything in America, I can relate it back to slavery. That's literally that game that we play. That's literally the game.
Can we make it racist?
Can we make it racist? Where we take different, if you guys have seen this on the show, where we take, you guys in the comments leave different objects, and then we say how the left would make it as it's racist. This is literally what this lady's doing. It's beyond parody. It's literally, our game has become something that she actually believes in.
Well, we made the game as a satire of what they do, because it's true. By the way, while we're on the Ibram Kendi quotes, did you guys see the other day, Chris Rufo actually made a game out of that? He said, how to be woke, anti-woke in 5 easy steps. Pick an Ibram Kendi quote, change the nouns, add X as your middle name, attribute the quote to yourself, and then tweet it. And so, like an example, he said, denial is the heartbeat of racism. He said, Christopher Rufo goes, denial is the heartbeat of wokeness. Christopher X. Rufo. In a woke society, it is not enough to be non-woke. We must be anti-woke. Christopher X. Rufo. So you just say all these, like, it just exposes how this guy just talks in, like, it's like profound but not, statements that just, denial is the heartbeat of racism. It's like, what does that even mean? It's like these empty, vapid words that you can just swap out with anything and, put an X in your name, and now all of a sudden you sound, which isn't his name like actually Henry or something, or Roger? Anyways.
It's pseudo-intellectualism.
Yeah.
Someone coming on trying to act incredibly smart, but it's really just incredibly vapid. There's some other stuff in here about overt white supremacy and then covert white supremacy, which we can look at real quick. Here are the things that are overt white supremacy. Those things make sense. KKK, lynching, hate crimes. And then here are all the things that are covert white supremacy. Okay? So, let's see some of these. Eurocentric beauty standards. You don't sound black. Don't blame me, I never owned slaves. That's pretty racist. Make America great again. That's covert white supremacy. Good job. Okay, but look at this. Look how important this is, okay? That Google, all right? Google, who owns YouTube and all sorts of ads that go across our country, like the biggest advertising agency basically in the world putting out ads, they say that Make America Great Again is racist. Do you understand that millions of people are going on their platforms looking at things that have to do with elections, things that have to do with politics, and you don't think that they have a political bias where they are censoring people who might be conservative or support candidates that are on the Republican ticket? When they label in their own classes, their diversity stuff, that Make America Great Again is covert white supremacy. Like, how stupid can you be if you don't think that this is really happening? Or how blind to the truth if you don't think that they are censoring conservatives when they label this in their own diversity trainings as white supremacy?
Yeah, it's disgusting. I mean, they even have, there's only one human race. That is covert white supremacy to claim that.
That is crazy.
Like, how insane. Any kind of cultural appropriation will, like your sombrero is covert white supremacy. How about, did you see the BIPOC as Halloween costumes? So if you dress up for Halloween as anyone who's a different race from you, then that's also covert white supremacy. These people seriously are teaching this stuff.
I know, to Google employees. But I don't know, that one, the election stuff just gets me the most. I'm not telling you to support anything or anyone. I'm just saying that their bias is so obvious. And if you don't think that they have any sort of implication when it comes to this, I mean, it is so huge and important about that. Because they control what the country is going to do. Because everything that you're seeing about elections and everything is on social media, and then they're controlling what you see. That is incredibly important.
Yeah, it does, and it's like, you see this with mainstream media too. Like, it doesn't have to be this way. The reason why no one in America has any faith in our institutions anymore and any trust in big tech or mainstream media or any academia, any of these major institutions, is because they've chosen to be ideologues, and they've firmly entrenched themselves on one side and said, this is how you must think, and this is the perspective that you must have, and you must agree that there's one human race. You can't say that. That's white supremacist, and if you think otherwise, then you're a bad person, and we disagree with you, and we're going to silence you, and we're just going to keep pushing out this propaganda in front of you 24/7 on your Google feed and everything else. And the people have lost faith in institutions for good reason, because they've chosen to be partisan.
Yeah, and think about how important and crazy it is that this is Google. Google is in charge of giving you information. And, their CEOs and the people who built this entire company have come out and said, well, we want to know what you search and what you're going to look for before you even look for it. And they're the ones who, when you go on the internet and try to find the answer to a question, they're the ones who are supposed to give you the unbiased information. Clearly, they are biased in a certain direction. And that is super scary to think that these big tech overlords who are in charge of everything that you have access to are following this sort of ideology and supporting this side of our split here in the nation.
Here's the last thing I think we'll show. This is the white supremacy pyramid, where you have genocide, mass murder. These are the mass murderers here. Horrible. And then it gets down all the way to normalization of white supremacy. So you have all lives matter basically here at the bottom, indifference, to minimization, where you see Ben Shapiro down here on the minimization one. Keep going up, you got Donald Trump on the discrimination, fear of POC, anti-immigration policies, mass incarceration, racial, all this stuff. Then you got Gavin McInnes here in the calls for violence one right here on burning crosses. I can't remember the founder of Vice burning any crosses, but maybe I'm mistaken. But this is just delusional. I mean, all of this is straight up delusional. Like, go outside of Silicon Valley and go talk to a normal person. You will understand that all of this is just BS entirely.
I mean, they're painting all these people, like everybody in those pictures. It's honestly a threat to paint these people as something that they're not. It's libelous, it's slanderous, and it's crazy, especially to see Ben Shapiro up there, considering he talks about the very same things that we do. He just states his opinions. Not even opinions, facts. That's what he does. And to label him like this, facts, hypothetically. It's just so...
I think I saw Amala on the bottom of that white supremacy pyramid somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm sure I'll be up there at some point, and so will Will, and so will Taylor.
We want to just show you this real quick. We'll go through parts of this rather quickly. But this is a 5-minute video from James Damore, who worked at Google, and he did a 5-minute video with PragerU, and I just want to show you a little bit because it's important for what we were just talking about.
Me for doing something unforgivable, something so controversial that it was the #1 news story for days. My crime? I wrote an internal document that, among other things, suggested that men and women, on average, are different. Like I told you, unforgivable. The politically progressive viewpoint, which is dominant at Google and in the media, is that all disparities in society are due to injustices, or in this case, that the gender gap in tech is solely due to some form of sexism. But is this true? The politically correct answer is yes, and Google acts accordingly. It treats men and women differently during hiring and promotion, holds official women-only events, and gives mandatory sensitivity training on how to combat alleged sexist bias. Of course, all of this makes sense if sexism is indeed the sole cause of the imbalance. But what if men and women are not exactly the same? Then sexism is just one of many possible causes of the imbalance. And exclusionary programs and differential treatment can be a counterproductive form of sexism. These practices actually increase tensions and make some feel like Google cares more about their gender than their programming ability.
So that's a video from James Damore, which you guys can go check out. It's not new or anything; it's kind of older, but
It's goes to show you, a couple of years ago, this was he wrote his treatise about this and exposed how they were teaching this gender theory stuff, but and now it's the race stuff, and it's the same type of thing, but it just, to me, raises the question, like, how do you guys think this actually starts? Like, where does this come from? Why does the companies want to all of a sudden say, like, hey, we need to do this diversity training, we need to do this, sexism training? Where does it come from? What's the origin of it?
Honestly, I think they gauge the political temperature of just the nation in general. They're looking through media and seeing what people are talking about, and then they go, well, how can we push this narrative further? How can we make it more divisive? Because corporations have a vested interest in doing that, because once they know that they can destabilize and make everything into a war, whether that's based on sex and gender or on race or identity, they get to profit off of it, and that's it. As long as they can line their pockets, it doesn't really matter what they do.
Yeah, I think it's the most profitable avenue for many of these corporations that they see, and they say, okay, if I do this, then people will think that, like, I really care about the world and all this other stuff and these progressive values, and so then they will want to get paid, or that people will want to buy their products for it. But I think it's a lot more than that. I think it comes from more than that, because
I think a lot of them genuinely think they're doing good by doing it.
I
think
there's definitely a profit motive in on some level, but because there's plenty of people, like I have family members, friends who, are always posting the woke stuff, and they're not worried. They're not doing it because they're getting profit, but they sincerely believe they're doing good and being nice. But I mean, Amala, you know how it is when you were a woke leftist. Like, you weren't like trying to line your pockets. You sincerely believed that the police were killing people disproportionately, and you cared about that, and you know what I mean. So, like, I just wonder, like, how does this? The problem is this stuff is detached from reality, and they're like redefining terms, and they can't even define what a woman is anymore, but they're pushing this woke stuff. But how do you get to a place where you don't even care about facts and the truth anymore, and you're instead see it as your moral duty to, like, indoctrinate your company with this ideology?
That's why I think it's important. It's important to draw the distinction between elites and between regular, everyday people. When I was a leftist, I was a regular, average person. I was being indoctrinated by higher-ups and elitists who are funding it. So Google is not the average leftist doing things out of empathy. They are gaining profit from it, and they are gaining lobbying points with politicians from doing it. So they're elites who are tricking their employees into believing that they are doing something good. And in the meantime, they are lining their pockets. They are getting in line with leftist politicians who will then seek power and higher office. And when they do seek power and higher office, they give these companies and these big tech corporations breaks, and they allow them to go on and continue to do what they're going to do because they work in this sort of symbiotic relationship. So there's a very big distinction for me between the average everyday leftist and elitists.
So you don't think any person who's in a position of power sincerely believes in wokeism?
I think that there are those that sincerely do, but the people who are above them, I mean, like the people really pulling the strings, pushing these corporations to put out the same line of commercials all the times and to go through the same campaigns. It's like, there's no surprise that while Google is doing this, so is Amex, so is Raytheon, so is Ford. It doesn't, like, they're all in conjunction with each other. They're not doing this for good.
Yeah, I think it might be somewhat inherently impossible to believe that you are doing something so morally righteous when behind the scenes you are doing things that are morally reprehensible at the same time. It's like if you know that you are doing things that do not benefit people, but then are pushing a different narrative that does benefit people, I don't think that you can feel like morally obligated to do something. It's all for your own vanity and gain. I think that people's own vanity is like thinking about people's will to live when they don't have a real religion. It is for themselves. They create a religion out of themselves. They become the god of their world, essentially. And so when they're the god of their world, then the entire reason for life is to find things that will make them feel good and things that will make them more have more control over other things. And so through that is doing things like pretending to be woke and moral, moral that the left has decided, and thus gaining power that way. And so then they create their own world as their god. So I think that it is kind of inherently impossible to be super genuine about it as someone who is in that position of power.
I think it's a huge mix of people who think they're doing good and who know that they're not. It's like when I think about working at the other organization, I'm sure the CEOs of all these leftist organizations that I was working in tandem with believed that they were doing good and were setting out to change the world, and sure, they made money off of it and they were powerful because of it, but they felt like they were doing something empathetic, they felt like they were compassionate, they felt like they were doing the wrong thing. Now, does George Soros, who comes down and gives $1 million here, $1 million there, $1 billion there, think that he's doing the right thing? Absolutely not. He knows he's not doing the right thing. So it's the ability of elites who know what they're doing is morally reprehensible and tricking people into thinking what they're doing is morally good. That is the problem.
It's not even like a leftist problem, though. It's just like a humanity problem.
Yeah,
it's the same thing with people who are on the right, who are Republicans. I mean, you'll see people who we'll refer to as grifters, who go out there and make it seem like they're trying to do something good for the world, or Republican GOP people who claim that they have your best interests at heart and then aren't actually doing anything to help you. And so you might think that looking at these people from the outside that they have good intentions, but I don't think that they can genuinely say that they do if they know that they are going against their values and the things that they preached about. If you go and you say something and you say, I believe in A, and then you go and do B, I think that it is impossible for you to actually be doing A for good intentions. Because if you actually did, then you wouldn't be doing B. You understand? It's like you can't say that you're trying to do something good and then do the opposite.
Well, I think they justify it to themselves that as soon as you convince yourself when you are in a position of power that the end justifies the means, then like all manner of evil opens up to you. And like another example would be like in Australia, what we're seeing with the lockdowns now. Like I think that the leaders in power who started implementing these, strong measures to crack down on people and make them do lockdowns came from a place of, hey, we need to eradicate this virus. We're scared. We need to, and this is the way to do it. And if you're not, complying with this, then you're hurting the collective or whatever. But then little by little, like the end of a healthy, country or whatever, or eradicating the virus starts to justify the means, which are increasingly reprehensible. And now you have their army patrolling the streets, and people aren't allowed to drive 5 miles across town, and it's absolutely, people are getting arrested and fined thousands of dollars for just planning things on Facebook. And because in the minds of those in authority or in power, the end justifies the means. And that's exactly the same as like Stalin. He believed that the communist utopia was worth, there was no, and Mao too, like no number of deaths was not worth sacrificing for the revolution and for the cause. And I just wonder if with the woke companies, I think it's a little bit more fuzzy because
but Mao didn't think that he was doing it. I can guarantee you in his head he didn't think like, oh, all of these people dying is morally right. Like there's no way unless you have that level of delusion.
But he persuaded himself that my goal is worth it.
Right, you can persuade yourself that, but saying that is because of good intentions to be morally right, I don't think you can say the same thing.
But I'm saying, like, for these companies, for the people that are like that are running Google and making them do diversity training, their goal might be, I don't necessarily buy that it's like to control the world and pull strings and stuff, or divide people and make more profit. I think that is like maybe something that is part of the feedback loop that keeps it going further and further. But I think at its outset, and I think why these ideas are so dangerous and so appealing to everyday people, is because on their face they have the veneer of, oh, well, we want to be non-racist, we want to be more, equitable, we want to, men and women to be equal, and they like appeal to that part of people, but they're willing to sacrifice, toward that end, they're willing to sacrifice truth, and they're willing to sacrifice our, values of having to go off of evidence and, being tethered to reality on the way. And when that's lost, you just have this, I don't know, we just have this crazy society where everything's imploding, and you just have this ideology, and everything becomes about, are you serving the ideology and pushing that further in society, and are you compliant with it, instead of, are we all playing by the same rules of truth and evidence and reason, which is what liberalism and Judeo-Christian values used to give us. But the more we get away from that, you can't build a functional society on top of anything else, and that's why America is the only country that's ever worked.
Well, the veneer that you're talking about, and the stuff with the anti-racist stuff, works in shame. It doesn't work on like a sense of empowerment. So these people who are the elites, they can delude themselves as much as they want, but I don't think that they are doing morally good things when they see that the actions, when actually put into place, don't actually do good. And then going back to the Australia thing you were talking about, I don't know, because I like, you look at the people in Washington, D.C. and the people in Congress here in America, these people don't even read the bills. They don't even read the bills. They have some college graduate who basically partied his way through college, reading a bill that could decide $3.5 trillion of American taxpayer dollars. And it's some kid who just graduated college. And that's who we have running our country. And so it's like the same thing in Western countries all around the world, where it's like these leaders are not doing enough work with how we have bureaucracy set up in the 21st century to say that we really like care and are going to do good things, or that these things we're doing, oh, we really care about it, because they're not putting in the work. If they put in the work to actually do the research about what these things actually mean, then they would know that, like, children, like here in Los Angeles now, they're doing the vax requirements for children 12 to 18 in schools here. They would know that children have like a 99.99% survival rate. They would know that. But since they don't actually do the research, it shows that they don't actually care. So there's no way that they can think that they're doing moral right things.
Well, I'm essentially saying the
it.
Same thing, though, because like I'm saying, truth gets lost and facts get lost in translation whenever when you can say the end justifies the means,
yeah,
and that's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, but they can't say they're morally good or they're searching for moral good if they are not searching for truth. Because if they search for truth, that's like the highest level, essentially, of like searching for morality. Everything is if you aim for truth above everything else. But if you don't do that, then you cannot truly say that you are doing this for good intentions. And so I think that if you have elites who are there and saying like, oh, we just want all this racist stuff and white people suck and everything, but they're not searching for any kind of truth, or silencing, especially in Google's case, silencing people of a different view, there's no way that they can say that they are morally right.
Well, and I think where all these problems stem from is we don't have a concrete definition of truth and goodness that we all agree upon, that we can judge action, judge our aims by, and so the collapse of morality and truth in our society is what is making it so unclear what people's motives actually are.
Yeah, it's very true. I think like the right in a lot of ways looks through the lens of sort of freedom, success, opportunity, and that's their measure of what is morally good and morally right, while the left looks through the lens of emotion and suffering. So if you guys are on two different planes as to what justifies success, or what defines what true freedom is, or what true moral goodness is, then you're never going to agree on the tactics you should use to get there.
Yeah. But we used to have liberalism, a shared framework of, okay, well, we're both still, if I cite facts and show it with evidence, we used to have that to help be the arbiter of how we can negotiate those different planes that we're operating on. But now I feel like one side does not care about facts. And that's why you're seeing even a lot of, liberals, classic liberals, come over and join with conservatives because we're both still at least operating in the world of facts and reason, whereas these ideologues have completely abandoned that. And that, to me, is the ideologues is like a cancer on the Western civilization, and that we cannot let them win.
Well said.
I agree. I concur.
Thanks. That was a fun rabbit hole of philosophical discussion, guys.
Is that it, guys? We just talked about Google for like 40 minutes, so I hope you guys are interested in this conversation.
It's bigger than Google, though.
It's bigger than Google, even though there's basically no companies who are bigger than Google.
It is bigger than Google. We talked about all the ideologies, all the things.
Yeah, well, it's really important.
It is.
I say this all the time, but it's not left versus right. It's truth versus evil, essentially. It's truth versus lies.
Principle over party.
Yes, because they use the parties and they use the political ideologies to keep you in a box, to keep you controlled. That's how they do it. That's how they can keep you stuck in their boxes, to make you to go a certain way or to think a certain way. Don't think inside their boxes that they set out for you. Be a truth seeker and look to destroy lies.
I mean, look what George Washington said when he left office. Our very first president warned us and told us not to do any sort of political party fighting because this is where it would lead, and he was absolutely right. So everything the Founding Fathers said still remains true.
Well, thanks for coming on, Amala. We appreciate you a lot.
Anytime.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me again. I was really excited when I got the call and that you wanted me to be on the show again. I'm sure I was well received by your audience, and that's why, but thank you.
I bet it's a big deal to have someone on 2 days in a row.
Well, we're just really trying to push our diversity initiative, and so that's why we brought you back on.
It's such a huge deal for me to be talking to at Will Witt and at Taylor Trandle, so...
That's at the Will Witt to you.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Well, now you're never
I
coming
swear
on
I'm a big
again.
fan. I swear. I'm sorry.
Well, thanks, Amala, for coming on, and we'll see you maybe tomorrow. We got some stuff with you.
Go get some Nashville hot chicken and biscuits.
I already had Hattie B's, boy. It was pretty good. Not as good as Dave's, but it was good.
Wow.
Amala's going to be in her hotel room all day.
I am.
She might even open the blinds and let some sunlight in. Who knows?
Because I'm scared of drunk men at bars and restaurants.
So am I.
Maybe Australia, to keep everyone quarantined, just needs to unleash a bunch of drunk men on the streets,
Hi, mate.
terrorizing people.
4 stars. Yeah, mate. All right. How you doing, Amala? Looking good over there, mate. Yeah.
PTSD.
Like a beer? All right. See ya, Amala.
Bye.
Peace.
What a fantastic segment by us that we pre-recorded this morning and put up live for you guys to watch, okay? So I was reading your comments. That was me in the chat, okay? The guy who said mustache gang, that was me in the chat. That's really me. So just so you guys know, okay? And we got some super chats that we weren't able to read because that was a pre-recorded segment with Amala, but I want to read some of the super chats now. We got Lone Wolf 36 who said Google's motto used to be don't be evil. It is now do the right thing. That says everything you need to know in the current conversation context. Evil is now permitted. Couldn't have said it better myself. And Jake Chekalinsky said, whoever is monitoring this chat, are they not answering super chats? Was this pre-recorded? Yes.
That was a pre-recorded segment, but it is a live show.
But it is a live show. We are live again now. Or are we?
Where are we?
Who knows, huh? Yeah, so that was good. Amala was able to come on and do that. She'll be gone tomorrow. We got some other exciting stuff for tomorrow for Fun Friday as well, and also some stuff with 9/11. So I want to show you guys this video. Let me pull this up. This is from Los Angeles. Okay, so you might think, oh, this is Brazil, this is El Salvador. No, this is Melrose Avenue Shopping District yesterday afternoon in broad daylight. Let's watch this. That makes your day pretty horrible if that happens to you.
That's on Melrose. Like, Will and I both used to live in Hollywood within like half a mile of where that happened. And that was like on I don't know what restaurant it was specifically, but you know, just that I've dined outside on Melrose Avenue before.
All the time.
Yeah.
You go to Melrose, you go to Santa Monica Boulevard. I mean, all that right there with like Beverly Hills and Hollywood. It's like how does that happen? How has it gotten to this point where that's happening? I mean, I think after today, we can't really talk about the stuff that the administration talked about today because of 501c3 stuff with PragerU. But just in reference to that, I think we can all say that things are getting a lot crazier here. Things are getting worse, and it's making people go mad and able to think that they can get away with whatever they want. And that's a bad precedent to set. A very bad precedent to set that we now have in America, that people can get away with what they want, and the government protects people who do evil and hurts people who want to get the truth out there, or law-abiding citizens wants to not protect those people and protect people who commit evil. I mean, look in San Francisco with the amount of crime that's happening there, and they are building drug tents for people to go and consume illegal drugs instead of working on programs that are going to get people off the streets, that are going to get people jobs, make them so they're not homeless anymore, and make it so that they can have some sort of rehabilitation off of drugs. They give them free needles. Imagine if you were addicted to drugs and you walk by this tent funded by the government, funded by people's taxpayers, and they say, oh yeah, you can come in here for free and do drugs. It's like, oh, that's really going to deter you from being a drug addict? Of course it's not. There are no programs, like the governments of these leftist places are not putting in programs that deter crime and deter people from making irresponsible choices. They are putting in things that incentivize people to do the wrong thing. That's what we're seeing all over the country right now in these big urban blue cities.
Yeah, I mean, not to mention... well, first of all, when this thief stole these goods from off the table in the shopping bags in the purse, if there was less than $950 worth of goods and money in those things, would he not be prosecuted according to the current LA laws? And meanwhile, like you're saying, in San Francisco, what are they paying people not to shoot people, right? Or isn't that right?
Yeah, they're paying people $300 to not shoot people.
Yeah, so this guy just must have not got his check yet and is, making some noise to, make sure he gets paid by stealing things and making more money. I mean, being a criminal is a lucrative profession these days.
Yeah, I wonder if they're paying people to hit people with eggs. I don't know. Maybe that's their new initiative, is what it seems like in California.
It's so terrible here. It's so terribly run. It's unbelievable.
There are no words to describe it. I mean, there are words.
And it's coming to you, America.
Yeah. I mean, it is
let
like
it happen.
It is Mordor out here, essentially. And
Yeah.
Los Angeles is Barad-dûr. It is just getting worse and worse in every single
Amala's
way.
not here to stop our Lord of the Rings references, so
Yeah,
we're
so
just going all out while she's
We can
not.
do a lot more. Just will you guys wait. I missed our fantasy football league draft yesterday.
I
So
know.
I was watching.
I put you on auto drafts.
How did I do?
Well, you have a lot of bench players.
A 30% chance? I like those odds. That's the lowest?
Yeah.
Why'd you choose bad players for me?
I didn't choose them. It's auto drafted.
Oh, okay.
You weren't there.
Fine. I was watching Lord of the Rings, so I couldn't make it.
It's only a movie you've seen a million times and can watch at any possible time.
It's you have to pay attention to Theoden's speech. Like, I want to get those chills. If I'm not watching so intently,
I've been on
I'm not
Lord of the
gonna
Rings
get
because I don't have to pay attention because it plays in my mind 5 seconds before every line is said.
I gotta watch. Anyway, this goes on to this blatant Oregon shoplifters walk out of Lowe's with full carts. You guys might have seen this, but videos of shoplifters stealing thousands of dollars worth of electrical wires from a Lowe's store in Oregon has angered local residents. It was so blatant. That's what riled me up. Kaiser Orr resident Andrew Sullivan, who filmed the incident, told the Kaiser Times they were just strolling through the parking lot, just riding the carts. The incident unfolded in broad daylight on August 25th, with the video showing two men pushing shopping carts loaded with electrical wire, walking out of the Lowe's doors as two employees are helpless to stop them.
Do you have the video here?
I think so. Right?
Yeah, it was crazy. I mean, I guess you gotta let the ad play, but
Is this an ad?
that looks like an ad.
Okay. I let this
Anyways.
ad play. Oh, that looks like some good pizza. I love hands in my pizza.
Jake says, I'm not going to tell you how to run your show, but you guys have got to monitor your super chats better. I sent you two. Please answer the first one. I saw another one about Larry Elder, which we cannot
This isn't
talk
an
about.
ad.
But
Yeah, sorry. Amala usually does the super chats.
I know. This thing just runs off the rails when Amala's not here.
I know.
guys.
What are we supposed to do? I mean, Amala's the one who does the super chats, and now it's
We're not
tough.
used to like doing all the work.
Well, no,
So-
because it's like I'm talking, and then it's like, how can I look at the super chats at the same time while I'm talking at the same and pulling up the stories all at the same time? We got to have Amala to do that. So
I know. It's throwing off our whole mojo.
I know.
I'm usually like monitoring the chat more too, while I'm listening. You guys are carrying the conversation, and I just chime in when I can. But now I'm like having to focus on the conversation. It's just, it's rough out here, guys.
Yeah. All right, Scott, you saw some super chats? You want to read them?
Oh, okay. Dylan has another one here. It's about money. Countries have sovereign wealth funds with trillions, massive collections of wealth. Many only invest in companies with good ESG. ESG includes environmental racism, climate risk, director of diversity. That's a real thing, the ESG thing.
Yeah, of course it's a real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a real thing. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to get too much into that, but you guys saw that video out of Australia with that lady saying the quiet part out loud. So, yeah, you know what's going on. Can't really talk about that too much either right here. But,
yeah.
Well, I think that's about the show today.
We really need Amala back, apparently.
No, the show is fine. The show is good. We just missed some super chats and all of that, and it was fine. The Blue's Clues thing in the beginning, really funny.
Very funny.
Very funny. No, I busted a seam laughing. So I busted my gut. But we appreciate you guys tuning in. If you guys want to listen to us, stop laughing, Tyler. Calm down. All right? We really appreciate you listening to the show. And if you want to just listen to the show where you don't have to watch us because maybe you're busy, something like that, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, whatever else it might be. You can also join Prager Force, which is our student program. That's for young professionals under the age of 35 in high school, college, young professionals around the world. I got started in Prager Force. Amala got started in Prager Force. It's a great opportunity for all of you guys to get more involved. When you're seeing the evil and all these horrible things taking place across the world and you say, I want to do something, I want to get involved. I'm a young person in America or across the world who says, I believe in freedom. Join Prager Force so that you can be a part of the digital fight to actually get things done and make a change in the country that you live in. Because we need those changes, and we need you guys to stand up and be strong against these things. Because we can't all do it. I mean, I can't do this by myself. I need all hands on deck. All the people who speak out need all hands on deck with people supporting them to make these changes happen. And so Prager Force is a great vessel for you to be able to make that change. So make sure pragerforce.com, go join the program, get involved, and you can do a lot of good with that. Appreciate you guys tuning in today. Thank you so much. PragerU.com/DBU if you're interested in a $1,000 scholarship from Dallas Baptist University. And we are going to see you guys tomorrow. Peace.